another Bloodthirsty Salamander experience. I'm Justin here with my co-host Steven, and here in a bit we're going to be talking with two entrepreneurs who have successfully made a path to work for themselves and no one else. But before we hop over to talk with them, I want to know, what are you drinking tonight, Steven?
Tonight I'm drinking one from a brewery called Tups Brewery out of McKinney, Texas. It is a holiday spice amber ale, and it's kind of like they took art and science and made this beer, Justin.
Goodness, that is another Texas thing. I got Shinerbach, good old classic Texan beer you can get about anywhere here in Shiner, Texas. Not where I'm at, but close to here. Always tasty, always easy to drink. Oh, shucks, before we get too far, I heard there was some big news over here with the Sooners and their coaching staff. What's going on over there?
Yeah, to everyone's surprise, Lincoln Riley headed out to Los Angeles overnight to take the job to coach USC. Definitely was unexpected for pretty much the whole nation, actually.
Dude, I bet.
But coaches come and go, and he, to me, wasn't ever going to win at Oklahoma, so not all that sad he's gone, honestly.
Oh, no. Isn't it still during season?
Technically, I mean, that was kind of OU's last game of the season. They have a bowl game to play. I don't know if USC has a bowl game or not, but basically what he'll do is he'll start building his staff at USC, which basically he's rating OU staff, which is fine, I guess, and because their new coach will bring in his own staff anyways. The one thing he's been doing that kind of is a little unheard of is typically when a coach leaves a school, like he doesn't go after that recruiting class that school. He usually encourages them to stay with that school. But that's not really been the case with Lincoln Riley. He's kind of like a snake, been trying to take everyone he wanted out of that class. I mean, sometimes, players want to play for a certain coach and they'll go to that school he goes to anyways. But this situation is really weird. It's kind of like Lincoln Riley looked at Kevin Durant when it comes to Oklahoma and said, "Hold my beer."
Oh my God. Yeah, that sounds dirty. I didn't know they could convince the players to switch. I see it, but I thought it was more, the players making that decision because why not? The coach talked to them, went to their house, classic Disney movie stuff. But it looks a lot more like he's out there telling them, hey, come over to USC now. Is that right?
Oh, no, definitely. There's been multiple reports from some of the recruits. Bob Stoops stepped in for OU as the intern head coach to coach the bowl and just kind of keep things afloat. And he was in Tulsa talking to a couple of recruits, and Lincoln Riley called one of them while he was talking to him.
What, like in person?
Yeah, well, yeah, like he was there at their house, and Lincoln Riley called the recruit while he was there.
Goodness, that is some shady business right there.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I think he's my new favorite player. There was an offensive tackle out of not Los Angeles, Nevada, and he was telling some people that Lincoln called him, and he told him, I respect your decision to take that job, but I'm not reopening my recruiting, and if I was, it wouldn't be for USC and you, coach.
Oh man!
So that guy's probably my new favorite player.
Yeah, this guy will stand up for himself, for the other players, the whole general quality of the sport. It's like, nah, dude, that's shady. You can't do that. That demeans the sport.
Yeah, and it was funny because Lincoln Riley's actually over here talking about how this situation is bad for college football and they really need to look at changing some things. And it's like, bro, do you hear yourself talking? Like, you created this situation. Like, what do you mean they need to change? Like, it's a bad situation. It's like, bro, like, you could have just not did it. Like, but I don't really blame him for taking that job because here's some of the things in the contract. Like I think he's got a 6-year contract for $110 million. They bought both of his homes in Oklahoma for $500,000 over asking price.
Oof.
They bought him a $6 million home in Los Angeles, and his family will have more access to the team's private jet.
What? Is that even legal?
So
I guess he's not a
apparently it
politician.
is. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess they can pay whatever they want to pay, right? I think what's like 110 divided by 6, like comes out to like roughly like 18 million a year.
Oh my god. Plus
Yeah, it's
house, like
just
is any of that included in that salary he's gonna be getting?
no, that's
God.
all separate from that salary. So not only did you sell the 2 houses and make the money off of that, then you didn't have to spend any money for the $6 million home.
God.
So, uh, yeah, a pretty incredible deal. It'd be kind of hard for anyone to turn that down, and I definitely don't blame him. The way he did it was kind of shady because it's pretty clear he'd been talking to him for weeks. Because you don't like he acted like he had never talked to them before. Sunday morning after their last game on Saturday, and that's just not possible. Like they don't call you Sunday morning and in a couple hours you've worked out a deal to take the job like that. Like there's a lot that goes into that negotiating and stuff. So and then the next day on SportsCenter he was saying that the first time I talked to him was Saturday night on the way back from the game, and then he was like then he told somebody else it was Sunday morning again. So like he's kind of all over the place. I mean, it just seems shady the way he did it, but it is what it is. I mean, I think personally, like I said earlier, I don't think OU was ever going to win with him. And they went out and hired Brent Venables, who was a longtime assistant and defense coordinator for OU in the early 2000s when they won a national championship. And then he left and went to Clemson and helped them win a couple more national championships as the defense coordinator. And I mean, you couldn't really ask for a guy that's coached along with 2 other Hall of Fame coaches and actually started his coaching and playing career with another Hall of Fame coach and Bill Snyder at Kansas State. So you got the history there with Oklahoma. He was at Oklahoma for 13 years. So you have that familiarity and everything. And then it's a great fit for that reason because he knows the program and he knows the fans, and he knows how Oklahoma runs. But I think Lincoln Riley's teams were super soft, and it showed all the time. And I think it's a good chance to get away from that, especially heading into the SEC. If you take a powder puff team into the SEC, they're going to send it flying back out the door. So I think it's a good move for probably Lincoln Riley, and I think it's a good move for Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's good. Did you say he was head coach over there at
No, he was the defensive coordinator at Clemson. So he actually left Oklahoma as the defense coordinator. Clemson came in with a big offer, and he went there and put together like one of the best defenses over the last 10 years. Consistently every year there in Clemson. So definitely a lot of fun, a lot of changes. Just let it all play out over the offseason now, I guess.
Yeah, at least they got somebody that sounds high caliber again, because it's been, I feel, just as a non-super fan of college football, it just seems like after Stoops, they were just kind of treading water, just being like, all right, we're good enough, but somebody has to take us over the edge.
Yeah, and it seemed like Lincoln Riley maybe was going to be that guy, but Stoops, he retired and he left him with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, Kyler Murray is the backup quarterback, 2 NFL receivers, an NFL tight end, and I'm not just saying like guys that are NFL rosters, like a top 5 tight end, two top 15 wide receivers, and CeeDee Lamb and Marquise Brown. And then, basically there was another guy there was 6 guys on that roster on the offensive line that got drafted in the NFL, and 4 of them are currently starting in the NFL. So, I mean, he just left him with a stupid amount of talent. And, after the first 2 years, after all that talent graduated and moved on, it just kind of seemed like they were getting worse and worse. So, I mean, that 10-2, that's not bad, but you could tell that they were regressing. And the year before, I think they lost 3 or 4 games. So, definitely was not headed the right direction, I don't think.
That sounds similar because I follow Manchester United, big team, same thing where they lose a little bit because 4 losses ain't that big, but how they lost, how they won, it gets to be bigger than anything. And if the coach isn't the one going to lead them over that line and get them that fucking trophy, like what the hell is he doing there? He needed to go. And if they can get that guy with all that Hall of Fame experience, knowing everything already, like it sounds optimistic for sure.
No, and that's exactly it. When you win a lot and then you have some losses that you shouldn't have, it really does get down to how you're winning and how you're losing. I mean, it gets so much more micromanaged at that point, and the stakes are super high. And when the stakes are super high and you lose to a team like Kansas State, that's a 500 team, then people start to think, okay, what's going on? And when you lose to them 2 years in a row, and then you've struggled with them 4 out of 4 years, barely beating them, it really starts to question, why are you struggling with this team? And then other teams are, as your NFL talent's running out, other teams have seemingly figured you out and making your offense struggle and stuff. So it just seemed like the Big 12 had caught up to Riley, and because he doesn't play a physical brand of football, once they kind of figure you out, I just felt like he thought it was time to head to greener pastures and basically get a fresh start where teams hadn't kind of settled in on what he was doing.
No, that makes sense. It just blows my mind to think about soft football, like he's not playing that physical side. It's like, well, don't you guys train to be gladiators? Isn't that the whole thing? Aren't you guys big, ready to hit each other and just rip each other's heads off? And if he's playing something soft, more technical, I guess that's cool to learn, but what's that going to get you?
It's flashy, it's all timing routes and if you got the athletes and stuff to do it, like it works. But when the other team's got the athletes to punch you in the mouth, which they have in the playoffs repeatedly for OU, so it just doesn't work that well. I mean, you can get by against weaker opponents, but when you start playing equal or even superior talent, then it gets rough pretty quick.
So what's that change going to be from Big 12 to SEC? Like, what does that mean to an outsider who only follows soccer?
I want to start out with every conference is top heavy. So you got your 3-4 teams that are consistently at the top, and then you got your middle people, right? And then you got your bottom dwellers. But so that's like that in every conference. However, I would say that it'd kind of be like maybe not as drastic, but like jumping from high school, like competitive soccer, you know what I mean? When you're like, because high school competitive soccer is usually better than high school soccer, anyways, because you kind of cut out the rec players altogether that sometimes are on high school teams. But it'd be like jumping from high level competitive soccer straight into like pretty good college soccer. There's a pretty good jump there.
Okay. Do they have the players to make that jump?
I mean, I think so. You got to toughen them up, and you got to I mean, obviously continue recruiting, but a lot of it's just mentality. These guys they got have been highly regarded when they're recruited, but you just got to coach that tough mentality into them.
Oh, that makes sense.
Scheme changes too, so it'll be fun. I think OU will be going into the SEC, which is looking at like 2025 right now. I think with the new coach and having plenty of time to get his system in place and push towards that more physical teams and more physical style of football and more defensive oriented, that they'll be in good shape heading into the SEC.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was this next season, but they got years to prepare and recruit that type of mentality. Because I was thinking as you were saying it, like, man, if he's just recruiting a lot of tactical people who like flashy, like cool, they're quick thinkers and they're going to be able to think quickly, but it just doesn't seem like the same mentality you need for the SEC.
Like I said, though, like you still, no matter what scheme you're running or whatever, you got to recruit the athletes. And then it's all, I mean, I really think that mentality, that toughness can be coached into them through the weight room, the sprints they do and the bleachers and all that. And, just pushing them to their limit. And then just when you get in practice, just really going head to head, hitting each other and just practicing a really physical brand of football.
Well, that makes sense. Well, it sounds like they got it kind of figured out, got the right coach, got the right direction ahead. So it's another optimistic sort of view that they got going on, another position that they have for themselves to win another title and quit being not so successful.
Absolutely. And Justin, I've been wanting to ask you this question today that I came across earlier today, and here it is. If your mom and your girlfriend swap bodies and the only way to switch them back was to sleep with one of them,
Fuck you.
Which one are you going with?
This question is so bad. It's like, no, like I'm not fucking my mom's body. That's just weird.
Yeah, and if you go with your girlfriend, you're fucking your mom's.
She's gonna think
like personality, her subconscious.
Can I just wrap it in blanket and just see what happens? No, fudge.
I mean, you gotta pick one, right? Because otherwise, they're gonna be stuck like that forever.
I mean, screw them both. I'm gonna run away. I guess I would do girlfriend's body with definitely paper bag
with mom
in the head. Like, don't talk, don't look at me, don't say nothing. Just let me put some headphones on and get the job done for the better of us all. Man, say, what would you do?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Is my girlfriend replaceable is the real question. Like, how serious are we? Because I can get used to my mom in a different body. Like, I can always go get a new girlfriend, right? I mean,
exactly. You'd be giving your mom a second chance at a young life.
Yeah, exactly. She gets a whole nother chance. Gets to be young again. Maybe make some different choices. So I don't know. I think I would just tell him, look, shit happens. I didn't switch you guys, but I ain't putting you back.
Oh, shit happens sometimes. I guess that's.
I don't have the money for that kind of therapy.
Oh my God, the therapy, the end of it. I'd be like, oh my God, no, I would never be able to have another conversation. I'd be like, no, we can never talk. Like,
no, it's God. Like I can't see either of you ever again. Like I would have to do this and then just leave and never see either of you again. Like, man, I couldn't look you in the eye.
That'd be so bad. It would be a funny move to be like a shitty boyfriend. Be like, oh no, you switched bodies. All right, bye, bitch. Hey, mom, you got a whole fresh body. You looking good. You don't even had kids yet. Maybe you have. Who knows?
Yeah,
you
like
young?
Well, you had kids, but now your body's fake. So fuck
Go
it.
Have some fun. Call me when you need a DD.
Yeah.
Bye.
Right. Exactly. And, that's just luck of the draw sometimes for your girlfriend.
Exactly. I think you brought up a good point. It's like, well, how important is she? She ain't my mom, so she ain't that important.
Yeah. Right?
And you didn't say wife, you said girlfriend.
And that's not even the other half of it, right? Like, they got a say in it too. They may not want to fuck you either. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
very progressive. I mean, it's true. It's like, look, they could be like, exactly. I know my mom would have been like, yeah, screw this. Like, bye. I got this body. You're never going to see me again. My name is Janiqua.
Yeah, I mean, your girlfriend might want out of that body, but she's dumping you as soon as it happens. So,
my God, that is a fucked up scenario. Hope to never, ever have a Freaky Friday like that.
Yeah, just, I'm just leaving. Y'all figure it out. Sounds like a personal problem.
It's a big personal problem. I'd have a headache. I'd die. I don't even know.
Yeah. I don't know what you two are into to get you in this situation, but it ain't got nothing to do with me, so leave me the fuck out of it.
I didn't get you guys in here. I'm gonna leave forever. Bye. Oh my God.
Just pass on that. That's crazy, man. That's definitely one to think about, but not very long for me. I'm just leaving.
Just turn around and bouncing.
Yeah, I'll be the man in this situation and just abandon you both.
Decision made, path developing. Because oh my God, that just be a nightmare. Like a nightmare for a therapist, a nightmare for the individuals involved, and who'd even know everybody else around it? Because they're gonna be freaking out, and it's not just like those weird fucking Pornhub things. It's like, oh, your girlfriend and stepmom. Because that's at least okay.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like,
yeah, when you throw that step in there, it changes it a little bit, right? But
but no.
And not only that, your therapist ain't going to believe you. They're just going to think you're crazy and probably try to have you committed.
Yeah, I got time for that. I would take your choice all day. Be like, no, all right, bye. Yeah. Have a good life.
Yeah, I'm outie. See ya. But that's funny. Anyways, Justin, do you think it's time we go ahead and bring our guest on?
All right. Tonight we have two successful entrepreneurs that I personally had the privilege to work with in their insurance agency. So I'd like to welcome our guests, Grant Miller and Seth Tidwell, two longtime friends who have been successful entrepreneurs individually as well as together. And they're here to tell us about some of their struggles, successes, and what they've done. And so hopefully, you'll be able to find some value in the hurdles that they were able to overcome and be inspired to reach the success that they have. So without further ado, welcome Grant and Seth. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hey, good, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's always a busy night, but I'm doing well as well. Thanks.
Well, that is good, because I know your most recent endeavor is one topic that kind of leads from the previous interview we did with a cannabis guru who currently is running his own dispensary, and you guys have dove into that world doing grow. So how's that been going for you guys?
Good, man. It's awesome. A lot of work, that's for sure.
What was one of the toughest hurdles you guys had to overcome to get through this?
Regulations, I think.
What'd you say,
Grant?
I
think regulations, the state.
Yes. I guess the initial hurdle was, I think the hardest hurdle has been financing. I think, revenue, money to continue to keep it going. That's definitely one of the biggest hurdles. I know our initial hurdle was regulation. The barrier of entry was somewhat cumbersome, but now it seems like we've passed that and it's kind of in our rearview mirror, and I'd say the biggest hurdle right now would be financing and just money.
Crazy. And with it, now that you guys have got the doors open, does it look like that's going to be coming to a short end?
The problem with money?
Well, yeah, of course. As you get in this, Wild West cannabis world, and the way that you guys have traditionally structured businesses is very well thought out, not like fly by night, seat of your pants guys that we see a lot of that have a field, have a couple seeds, $2,500 for the license. They're like, hey, yeah, we'll go ahead and get this. But in the end, they'll make it a few months, if that, because nobody can find them. Their quality of product is pretty low. And just from an experience standpoint, everything that you guys have put out there in the world has been at a high quality. So I would only think that, as you guys have the doors open and everything starting to work in your favor now that you've overcome those regulations, hurdles, all the different things that come with just opening a new business, building it up to regulation standards, which I know was just absolutely mind-boggling. It sounded to me way too stressful. In order to do it right, it seemed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's always something new, though. There's always new legislation coming down. There's also things, ongoing things that we do have. I guess I will say the door is getting, wider. It's getting easier. We've kind of found a groove. What do you say, Grant?
Yeah, I mean, obviously getting there is a hurdle in itself, like you mentioned, just actually getting through all the administrative state. And then once you finally get there, then it's the growing. So then you got to have the knowledge base there, and you got to be able to not kill your crop, not get mold, pests, all the landmines that you can hit on that front. And then finally you have a product, you dry and cure your product, and then you've got it sitting in totes or buckets and it's ready to go. And it's like, okay, everybody wants to buy this now, right? And it just doesn't exactly work like that. I mean, we are lucky to have people that we know in the industry. So we expect that, as orders come in, it'll go out as fast as we can produce it. But now that we've gotten here, there's this period of time where we've expended all of the funds that we had set aside for this business. So now we're just like, and nothing's going wrong because, like you mentioned, we're pretty meticulous in the way that we set it up to make sure that we didn't fall off that ledge. Definitely the money has been spent and then some. And so now we're just waiting on that ROI,
Absolutely. It seems like that area right before everything good happens, that stagnant, stressful time. It's like, oh man, we've exhausted all of our options. It's got to work, right? Because again, previously, the other companies you had, the insurance agencies, I know Steven wants to talk about an app I'm completely unfamiliar with that I'm excited to learn about, because that one is something, as we do this tech thing on the podcast, it's similar to that. It's in that, oh, this doesn't require so much building it from scratch in a sense. Like you're building a building now with different functions. You got to have your fire safety, your grow safety, your standard operating procedures to get from seed to sale. Where the app, I feel a lot of people just kind of think up something, put it together, and hope it works. But, I'm going to let Steven talk about that more. Steven, talk about that app. I'm really curious because I very much want to know more about how and what it does and everything about it.
Well, on the app, I was first introduced to it by Seth. He's told me a little bit about traveling with you and basically pitching it to people. And I'm just curious, what gave you the idea to start the app, and what was the first step in moving forward to that?
When you're starting any business, the question is like, where's the problem? So people think of problems as a bad thing, right? Like, oh, I've got a problem, like nobody wants to have problems, but problems are, I think, what allow entrepreneurs to make money. So when you start looking at problems as like, hey, this is an opportunity. Our problems are opportunities, because if you solve somebody's problem, depending on how serious it is, they will pay you a lot of money. If somebody's got cancer and you can solve that problem for them, they'll pay almost anything, all the way down to even smaller problems. Somebody wants a snack after dinner. If you make a good snack and you solve their problem for them, they'll pay you for it. So that just goes for any business. So as far as the app goes, we were obviously in the insurance industry. Me and Seth actually kind of drugged me into it. He was starting a farmer's agency and was like, hey, come down and help with this, and we'll partner on it or whatever. And so I did, and then we ended up having not only that, he continued with that agency, and I went on to do an independent agency. And as I was in there, started recognizing problems, right? Like the particular type of insurance I was writing required that a lot of times people come into the office and sign documents. A lot of our clients were cash pay clients. And so I'm like, well, there's got to be a way to do business online. Like all these other insurance companies can do business online. So there's got to be not only a better way for them to do insurance online, but also a way for us to do it. So I'm in my office one day and I'm thinking how we can solve this problem of writing business online. And so I just literally got out the dry erase markers and started drawing out everything that I would need. I've still got the picture, so I can send it to you sometime. But I just drew like a cell phone screen. Seth probably remembers this. But I just drew a cell phone screen and I drew like two people on the screen. I'm like, what's the first thing? Well, whenever you have a client, you want to have that face-to-face interaction to help build rapport with them. So we've got to have video. So that was the first element. Next, we have to be able to sign documents. So we need a way that it's not like a typical e-signature, but rather we can actually physically view them signing the document. So that was tab number 2 that I drew on the screen. Then we got to be able to take payments. So that was tab number 3. And then we need to be able to exchange documents back and forth. So I need to be able to real time send them a document and them send me, their ID, proof of prior insurance, things like that. So I draw all of these out on the board, and ultimately I just contacted development team, put together a development team, ended up contracting with someone overseas, which is always a risky proposition, because you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. And really just worked with them every day and put the app together and got all of the elements that I needed in it. Once it was built, once I had what's called a MVP, which is a minimum viable product, I took that basic version of the app and just started talking to people about it, businesses that I thought would be interested in it, larger companies. I use a management system at the time called Agency Matrix. Got a hold of them and said, hey, I got this really cool product. Let me show it to you. I did. About a week later, the CEO of that company said, hey, why don't you come out and show me this? I flew out to Arizona, did a demonstration for him, and he said he wanted to invest in it, and I asked for $1.5 million and ended up at $500,000. So, it's not too bad.
Hey, I mean, to go from an idea to $500,000, that's pretty impressive.
It is. It goes to the classic, if you don't swing, you're never going to hit a home run.
Yeah, exactly. If I'd asked for $500,000, I probably would have got $150,000, So.
Exactly. He did that negotiation with working with Seth. There's always the negotiation. He really enjoys that, which I think is fun. Gives that practice to make perfect, that area that you need to really bring into that entrepreneurship world. Oh man, I asked for $500,000. I still got 500,000. Fuck yeah, this is a total win.
So Seth, what exactly was your role in helping Grant sell that app?
I played a small role. Grant had already came up with the idea and was halfway through with developing it. He just kind of asked me to come aboard and just kind of help him pitch it. When we flew out to the headquarters, Agency Matrix headquarters, just be there for him. Mainly he already knew what he was talking about, so just to support him along the way. Yeah, I mean, I played a small role. At the very beginning, when Grant told me about it, I was sold. I knew it was a great idea. He identified a problem within the market and provided a solution. Just as easy as that sounds, but it was a great idea, and we were all able to profit off it. It was great.
Well, that's good, because it also sounded like you were the entrepreneur kind of that inspired him in a sense, because you had the insurance agency. It sounded like, was that your first entrepreneur sort of experience with the insurance agency?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I didn't really have anything too legitimate before that. When I was 24, I went in, me and a friend went on vending machines. We bought 5 vending machines. It just didn't make the millions of dollars I thought it would. So it didn't last long. But yeah, that was my first actual small business.
That's kind of funny that you bring up the vending machines, because I remember going to your house one night and I get there and there's the biggest stack of $1 bills I've ever seen in my life. And I had no idea you had these vending machines. And I was like, yeah. Are you going to the strip club a lot or something? Like, what is going on here?
No, yeah, it was vending machines. So, yeah, unfortunately, I would have been going if they accepted coins, but they didn't. So.
Make it hail.
Yeah.
Grant, I had another question for you on the app. What was that like, pitching that to a big company? And were you nervous about it? Did you do a lot of talking in the mirror? How did you prepare yourself for that?
So I sold cars for that. So right before Seth and I did the insurance thing, right before he asked me to help with that, I was actually selling cars in Colorado. And that's actually where I ended up getting the kind of entrepreneur bug. Just selling Like being a salesperson on commission only is essentially, at least I see it as the same thing as being an entrepreneur. Yeah, you work at a car dealership, you work for an employer, but you're completely in charge of what you make every day, however hard you're going to grind it out, and however many people you're going to talk to, however many calls you make, that's going to dictate how much money you can make. Of course, then when you get in front of the people, you have to be able to convince them to buy a car, but it's the same basic thing. So I guess to answer your question, at that point, I had already done the car sales and I had already been with Seth on the insurance. So I have no problem, or I had no problem just going right in front of somebody and cold talking to them. I guess there wasn't really any rehearsing or nerves that went into it. The only nerves come, it's like when you're playing poker, right? So, you got that good hand and you're like, your heart's beating. You're like, how much should I bet? I know I've got a hand here, but like, if I over bet, then I could be in real trouble. But if I underbet, then I'm going to leave money on the table, So you got that kind of heart thumping when you're right in the middle of it and you're getting ready to give the ask. Well, I'm thinking like $1.5 million. And it's like, is he just going to like say, get out of my, like, ha ha ha, get out of my office, or, counter with something reasonable. And that's how it went. I guess I just had so much practice negotiating smaller deals at that point that it wasn't really an issue.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. As you mentioned, being a salesman in cars and then insurance, you're a salesman. So, I mean, that kind of like was practice leading up to that, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. It was, just dealing with, and it's dealing with other people's money too. So you get a lot of free practice, It's like, if you don't sell a car, it's no skin off your back. It's the owner that owns all those cars that he needs to sell, So you're just there to make your paycheck, so.
It sounds like a good personality trait that you have, as you're studying here law and you're going to go into that next part. I feel like you're not needing to have to practice in the mirror, just being able to really just be there in the moment and be who you are, to present your side of the story, present your argument, your point. I think that's really something cool that you were able to start with 10 years ago, I assume. I'm just making numbers up right now. But, starting that and now transitioning into what some could call an adult role, being a lawyer in the next endeavor, I think is going to really be a fun thing for you to transition into, because you're going to be the authority in a sense. You're going to be able to have that fun, full platform to really speak your mind and not bow down in a sense, or not wobble if somebody challenges you, to be able to negotiate and really walk through the issue and, hopefully come to a good, reasonable ending in your favor, of course.
Yeah, I think that law, at least what I've seen so far, of course, I haven't practiced at all, but we get plenty of practice like in the classroom, just doing motions and the moot court and all of that kind of stuff. So it feels very much like law is going to be more of the same, like just like sales. It all starts with sales. I think sales is like a lifelong thing. Like if you're good at sales, then you're pretty much going to be good at mostly anything, because even if you work, let's say you're working for somebody for $20 an hour and you've been doing that for 10 years, what's the difference between the person who just stays in that $20 an hour role and the person who moves up in the company or gets a raise, gets that year-end bonus? It's the person who's willing to go and negotiate, right? So if you got to be willing to walk into your boss's office and say, hey, here's my value. I've been working for this company for 10 years. Here's all of the things that I've done right. Here's all of my performance reviews that I've done well. And I think I'm worth a raise, and I know that another company would be willing to pay my worth. So I'd like you to step up and match that, maybe not in those exact words, but being able to sell yourself, even if you don't consider yourself a salesman, is like vital to being successful in life.
Yeah, nothing's going to be given to you without
very true,
obviously putting in the work, but if you don't negotiate and promote yourself, nobody else is going to. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so as you guys were going through it, a lot of these look like one inspired the other to join. What really makes you guys good partners?
I think we counterbalance each other in a lot of ways. Grant obviously has a great innate skill to make a lot of money seem like not a lot, and to encourage people to spend that money. That's great. I'm more conservative in that regard. A lot of money to me, $1 million is a lot of money. So when he gives that example, asking for $1.5 million, knowing my personality, I probably would ask for like, 200,000. So He has a great negotiating skills. He does things fast. He's quick. If he wants to do something, he'll lock himself in a room and figure it out until, in a week or two, and he's ready to go. Whereas I'm more of a cautious, slow. I like to take things a little more slower, more reserved. I'm not as, say, aggressive and when we're starting a business. So I think we really counterbalance each other in that regard a lot. And that I kind of hold him back too, though. So that he wants to go with our business now with the grow, he wants to really expand and keep on growing. Whereas, sometimes it might be a little bit better just to kind of maybe save up a little bit and maybe do it, still do what we want to do, what he wants to do, but maybe more in just with a little bit longer timeline. So that's my analogy of it. What do you think, Grant?
Yeah, I would say that's it. Like, that's pretty much exactly it. So, like, if we were both the same personality type and had similar skills, we probably wouldn't do very well together because, we would just constantly be, if there was two of me, we'd constantly like spinning each other into new ideas all the time. Like, oh, let's try this, and if it was two of Seth, maybe, things would progress, but they wouldn't progress quite as fast, So it's like just that perfect mix. And like, of course, we're not there yet, but you always look at like what do they call them? Like the dynamic duos in business. And I hope that one day we're going to be that. But, you look at like, who was it? Wozniak and Jobs. And, you look at all these different like pairs in business and it always, you don't hear that much about the second guy, but he was a vital part of, and he's not really the second guy. It's like a partner. They're both partners and they're both on the same level, but one of them just has the outgoing one who's doesn't mind being in the spotlight and likes to talk and all of that kind of thing. And you've got the other one who kind of keeps that tamed, and keeps everything moving, keeps the machine oiled. Like what they call solopreneurs can achieve plenty, but when things start to get to a certain point, you're never going to see like a really, really super successful thing that doesn't have at least two main people to it, right? Two main parts that counteract each other, counterbalance each other, really.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That goes to another question we were going to ask about how do you balance each other. And you guys answered that perfectly. I want to know, what is the funnest venture that you guys have taken on together?
I would say that probably, I don't know. That's a tough question. The funnest? I don't know. I mean, they're all fun. We all enjoy it.
I was going to say it's never fun.
Oh, it's never fun? I mean, it's better than a job.
Yeah, it's hard work, like no matter what it is, whether it's insurance or technology or this cannabis thing, we've both broken our backs, So like,
yeah,
it is fun to be able to like hang out and like get things done together and like know that we can do whatever, but it's not, I don't know if I would, the chase is fun for me. I don't know if I would describe any of them as like fun job, like fun work necessarily.
Yeah, I think that comes later. I think when we have millions of dollars to like invest in like my buck and bull, business that I want to start, I think then I'll probably be able to say it's that. But yeah, right now, insurance, growing cannabis, and direct mail marketing. I mean, there's probably not too much anything fun about any of those three.
What is the buck and bull?
Oh, once we have millions of dollars, we're going to bucking bulls that compete in the PBR.
Oh, you're going to Yellowstone it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's going to be fun. What else? I think we had some other ideas, right?
Yeah, we're going to name one of them Brisket after Seth's excellent smoking story.
Yeah. After my favorite pastime. I thought we had some other ideas too, though. I forgot.
Yeah, I think one of the things we want to do probably, which again is probably not going to be that fun, I guess, but it's creating some kind of a conglomerate that is able to, what's the word? Consult on whether it be cannabis or insurance. Since we're in those two fields, it's probably going to be right in both of those. But with Seth having the background he has, his wife, myself, like we all are probably going to do like some kind of consulting where we do accounting, HR, and legal, for either cannabis and or insurance. That's probably the next thing after the buck and bulls. So.
There you go. No, probably the buck and bull. It's going to come last, probably, of probably all those. but eventually.
So which one would be the hardest that you guys have put together?
I guess the hardest one's probably always the current one, right, Grant? Yeah, I mean, it's so hard.
The hardest physically, no doubt about it. Like the hardest physical job, and then you don't realize how much there is to growing cannabis until you actually start. I mean, like I've grown for a while. I kind of started back in like, I guess that would have been my first entrepreneurial venture was like 2009. And I started a little dispensary in Colorado. And I grew. I've always grown since then, off and on. But like until you start doing it in a commercial setting, I mean, there's a lot to it mentally. There's a lot to learn, but also just backbreaking work. You know, just running pipes and setting up the plumbing and setting up the tables and the lights and just everything that goes into it is it's just hard work. Now it's pretty much there, but it's probably still the hardest physically. I'd say the hardest I ever worked was when me and Seth started the farmers agency. I would just hit the phones nonstop. I'd be up at the office, 12 hours a day, so, a lot of times. And that's probably the hardest time-wise.
Yeah, and when I answered that, the current one, I meant that as not like, oh, the hardest one we've started is cannabis, but I feel like it's always going to be whatever you're currently doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how
so
I
like
took
if
it.
Right, yeah. So I just know like whenever we're in it, I mean, the beginning is always the hardest. I mean, it is the most stressful, the most, there's no money coming in. We have all this work to do. I mean, if you wanted to work 24 hours a day, you could. And when you own your own business, there's no punching out the clock. It's always on your mind. So if you don't get whatever you needed to get done that day, you can't just clock out and go, "Oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore." I'm at home now, and I'm going to enjoy my family. You take it home. I laid up in bed several nights during this process of opening the cannabis commercial grow and just worrying about things and just or all the stuff that I needed to do, just thinking about them the next, that night, thinking about what I needed to do the next day. So much so that I even, I've came down with shingles during this process, which is something I didn't think, someone, in their 30s could get. But, it happens when you have so much stress, and it's just, I think that's just like any business, though. All the businesses, same with the insurance, though. When we first started it, same scenario, no money, long hours, not sure if you're going to make it or not. You have a payroll to make, all these expenses that keep on coming in, but no money, no money coming in. So I think the current one is always going to be the hardest one for me.
Yeah, and on that, I find it interesting, well, kind of uniquely inspiring. Both of you have wives and multiple kids. Like, how do they influence and help you get through those hardships that you have to endure?
Oh man, wives, man, they're the real heroes. They do a lot of the behind the scenes things that you don't see. And then also kids. Newborns are not easy. They're tough, and honestly, there's a lot of times I'm sitting there complaining about how hard, this work is, but I'd rather be doing that than, having a screaming baby, in my ear for 4 months straight. So, I know my wife, she's awesome. She's great. She's been so supportive through all this, and I couldn't have gotten this far without her. That's for sure.
Yeah, I second all that. I mean, not to minimize my wife's, what she does, but like, it sounds like if you say like, yeah, every meal's on the table, the house is picked up, and all of that, but like that kind of stuff, it just makes life easier when I don't have to stop what I'm doing, go in the kitchen, cook all the food, clean up the mess, put the dishes in the dishwasher, all that. I just have a plate of food on the table. And most people think of that, probably think of that like, oh, well, oh, great. She's only good for that or whatever, people might say about like a housewife, I guess you'd say, but it's just, it's the only thing that allows me to do everything that I do. I've got the grow, I've got law school. Both are, super time consuming, and there's no possible way that I could get all of that done and have to take care of my house and cook all of my meals and do all of those things, take care of my kids. I mean, AJ, I do jujitsu with him, and that in itself is, a stretch. So yeah, I mean, it makes all the difference. So there's no way I could get it done.
Yes, I know both of your wives, and you guys did an amazing job finding the women you did, and I know they're a big support to you guys, but I wanted to talk about the two of you. You guys go back all the way to childhood, and as kids, could you have ever imagined being where you are together today?
Ah, man, that's a tough one. I think that, like, now looking back, I think, like, I can see Grant doing really good now looking back. But at the time, I wouldn't, I wouldn't have thought. Grant was always a kid that always had to test the boundaries. And he always liked to, I mean, he wasn't like, known for straight A's. I mean, let's be honest. Neither was I, but I was more like kind of behind the scenes. I didn't really get as much trouble. Grant always found a way probably to get in trouble. I don't know if that was like by design or what, but he was a very mischievous kid, as was I, and that's why we were friends. But I don't know. It's just it is striking. So if you would have asked me, like 11-year-old Seth, is Grant going to have all the success that he's had? I don't know. I'd probably say no. I mean, just because in my thinking as a kid, only the people who are going to be successful are the straight A kids, and that's what you're taught to think. You grow up to think that, and it ends up not being true. But now looking back, I see it, and I'm thinking, yeah, now it does make sense because Grant never did accept. He never did accept, oh, well, that's just the way it is, or oh, that's just a problem that the world has. Grant always wanted to ask why. He wanted to understand why, and if there was no solution, like, he would come up with one. So it makes sense to me now, is the long answer.
Well, before we let Grant respond to that, I'd like to jump in and say you were quite the boundary pusher yourself, Seth.
Yeah, I was. I just don't remember getting like in as much trouble as Grant did. I'll kind of share this next piece and then kind of let Grant talk. But I mean, Grant, you went to military school, right? I mean, it wasn't like you were, like I said, the teacher's pet or anything like that.
No, yeah, I mean that's pretty much exactly right. Not only military school, then juvenile detention, and then ultimately got in all kinds of trouble. So, but I think it does go to what you're saying, and I think it speaks to a much bigger problem in our society and our education system. Is that there are kids like me who I probably had a lot of potential when I was a kid, but the education system and parents generally, they were all raised a certain way. You go to school, you do good in school, you listen to your teachers, you listen to your parents, you graduate, you go to college, then you go to the accounting firm and you get a job and you work and you get a retirement, and then that's that, right? Like the system's set up for that kind of conveyor belt like life. And that's because I think it works for most people. So you've got like a certain